Hey, how y'all doing, family? I know it's been a minute, but I'm back at you again. You know it wouldn't be right if I did not give my review on Get Out. Um, let's talk about it, okay? There's a lot to talk about. First things first, I am familiar with Key and Peele, especially Jordan Peele and whatnot. He's always kind of been my more favorite of the two. Now, those two, because they use their biracial identity to skate on many lines that sometimes it's just like, y'all almost crossing it. You almost crossing it. Like they had a sketch once where they were being auctioned off as slaves and they were competing and like basically being salty because they weren't getting sold fast enough or for like enough money. And I'm like, I'm not sure this is necessarily something that you guys should I don't think it's necessarily funny and something to make light of. So they've skated on a couple of lines. However, normally and with their general stuff, I'm very pleased. So I was very interested to see what would happen as a horror film, and also to see this movie about an interracial relationship and see where it goes. Okay, first things first, I'm gonna do my original little analysis as if it's a regular general movie that has nothing to do with race or whatever. And my criticism on that as a horror film and a thriller, I do think this was definitely more of a thriller than a horror film. And I don't really like horror films, but I do like a good thriller. I really do enjoy good thrillers that they're full of suspense. You never know what's next. It's got that little hint of scary, but it's not all about oh no, and exorcism, poltergeist, and white people tripping and fall us in the woods somewhere. So I really did enjoy this as a thriller, especially in you know what, the also as a writer I enjoyed it too. There's a couple of things I would have wished for just a little bit, but as a fellow writer, I also really enjoyed how he was able to do this. I mean, he did so very well. The fact that this is his first time, I mean, he's a novice screenwriter and this is his first time doing horror, and he was able to do so well, as in like box office wise. Like it cost him like 4.5 mil to make, and he made like 300 mil in the first couple of days, or 30 mil or 300 mil in the first couple of days. Either way, that's racks. Like he didn't got it off of that one. Uh as far as there was comedic relief, we had the cousin Rod, and again, I'm going to stick to my general analysis before I get into my how I feel about it as a pro-black African spiritual African woman. But his friend Rod definitely provided a lot of comedic relief, but almost too much sometimes. Like he kind of seemed a little out of place as far as like the tone that he brings to it. Now some of the humor in there was subtle, and it kind of went in just to give you that little sprinkle, that sprinkle of comedic relief that you need, just before you're about to get smacked in the face with story and thriller and suspense and stuff like that. I do think that if you made a parody of this movie, which it's so interesting to even think of or conceptualize the idea of a parody for this movie, because it's almost parody is almost a parody like what a thriller sense. So that's, again, kudos to that writing and its range of potential. But yeah, I feel like if you made like a spoof of it, like a serious spoof, that Rod's character would not change at all. Um, but other than that, okay, I'm done with the general. In general, I kept in mind while watching this movie to remember, one, this is not a pro-black film. It is a thriller movie. Two, this is not a pro-black film. It's a thriller movie. And three, this is not some conscious pro-black shit. It's a thriller movie. And when you keep that in mind, you can really enjoy the film. Now, speaking from someone with these views, as I stated earlier, it's time to get into how I feel about it. First things first, y'all should already know what I'm going to mention. Very first thing I'm going to mention is I feel like they could have done better with black female representation in the movie. At least there was no good white people or white saviors, because a lot of things tend to have those too, especially when it comes to white women. Um, and I said because you only see two black women in the whole movie, and one is basically possessed and trying to kill the man, and then the other is laughing in his face, laughing in another brother's face, not taking him seriously, etc., etc. Now, am I to say that these roles were not crucial? They did not have their points. Would you watch? Well, not at all. I'm just saying it would have been nice to have, you know, one sister in there to do us that justice, because no matter what, and let's face it, niggas been running to these European women and whatnot for the longest now, and it's always been black women to snatch them back or still try to save them or whatever the case may be, even though there are some brothers out there that are adamant about wanting nothing to do with us. Okay, nobody's had the black man more than the black women, no matter how much the black man does fuck shit, and vice versa for black women too. No one's had black women like black men have, even when we have a couple of us that do some fuck shit, kind of fuck it up for the gander. It's still no. So the fact that we had no hint towards really a strong sister role to kind of back him up or care about him, or at least show that he had that other option of being with a black woman, or something to show us on the same team or the same side. We had none of that. Damn. But I had to remind myself, it's not a pro-black film. So for what you did get from Hollywood and whatnot, from mainstream, it works out that way. Anyways, first off, shout out to Maxine from In Living Color. It took me and my friend were sitting there in the theater the whole time trying to figure out why she looked so familiar, because that's my first time ever seeing her in hair like that, and as so much time has passed. She put on a little bit of weight, she used to be a slim fox, and now she's more developed in this film. And then they also have her laughing in the face of a black man, although this is the black man who's meant for comedic relief, with racially ambiguous, potentially Hispanic, and other black men laughing with and behind her. I will say though, as far as there is some relatability in her role, if we take it out of a movie context and make it a little more real, let's check it out. You have a brother coming to a sister like, oh, our brother needs help, and she was like, oh. Well, he's telling her the circumstances, and she's just sitting here. This just sounds like some basic old Negro shit. Like, what do you mean? You're telling me about a brother who ran off with some white chick, and now you're worried about him. And I'm just sitting here like, okay, he the one. He clearly, it just sounds like a man ran off with his girl and trying to get away or some shit. And then she mentions, he makes it sound like it's just the child. This is full of spoilers, but it makes it sound like it's the child. And then she's like, oh, snap, black kid, let me get right on it. And then he's like, oh, no, it's the grown man. Well, then what are you hitting me up for? So then he comes up with the theory, which is stuff that, this stuff is not very far off from the truth. The whole idea of it is not very far off from the truth. I mean, and I'm not just going to use the typical Lamar Odom or Kanye reference to help us think about this stuff going on in our face, but we all know these brothers and sisters who get with these off-brand people, and all of a sudden, like, what's up with you? Like, they ain't acting right. I went to college with a few of them. I went to high school with a few of them too. It's just something off about them when they start dabbling in toxic waste. Anyways, yeah. So the brother goes through the story about how, he's being kidnapped by white people and harvested, and they made a sex slave, woo woo, blocky blue. And she's just like, and I think there's an undertone there of, even if this was true, what do you expect me to do about it? A brother's looking at a sister like, what do you want me to do about it? He clearly made a decision to go be with this white birch, you know, switch teams, woo doo blocky blue, play in the snow, whatever you want to call it. So once you cross that fence, a lot of sisters is like, well, you on your own so long as you're over there, you know. So another thing I kind of got from her character as well. And then you've got, and I think it is genius, guys. I think it is genius that the grandmother turned out to be Georgina, because Georgina was a older black woman who was, you know, stuck, who mentally was an older white woman. And when we look at our elders today, a lot of us are complaining about, you know, how the roles that our elders are playing and hindering us from revolution and growth and whatnot, and how the views of our elders is really like making things difficult for us, and that generational divide that's really kind of counterproductive to the growth of African people. So to make the older black woman, you know, the character that she had, and see, you know, her mentality, although we do see a bit like when they get in the sunken place, I think when she was crying, I think that was her actual self fighting her hardest to get like some kind of control of her body to tell him something, and the only thing she could get the body to do was cry. That's how hard she was fighting from the sunken place. But yeah, and we see how this woman was all up in the mirror all the time, always touching her face, always doing her hair, always admiring herself, because the old white lady in her was really fucking with that imagery and that black not cracking. Okay, so go ahead, Miss Georgina. And at the same time, it's just like, dang, there's so much to this role, and there's the deepness to it, like I just explained with the representation as an older black woman, although you couldn't tell because the skin was flawless, that I don't want to lose this role. Maxine's role, I know her name's not Maxine in the movie, but her role and Jordina's roles are not roles that I want to take out of the film. I just want to one more character, which brings me to Mr. Rod. Okay, he was hilarious. It was hilarious. A couple of times I'm just like, man, like, we don't need you in the scene right now. You know, get back to the juice, get back to the tea. But at the same time, you know, to see that homeboy over there also who cared enough and was concerned and recognized, yo, my boy kind of, what's going on? You know, he sent me a real weird picture of a missing dude. You know, you told me all this shit and then you just disappear, and I'm worried about my boy, you know, taking care of the dog still, which he probably only had because that European woman probably like dogs. But the point is, yeah, only a couple little things. First off, watching other reviews, I noticed that white people love Rod. You hear them talk about, oh yeah, the guy who played Chris was a great actor, which we about to do for a second, but they go in and in and in and in on Rod. Why? Because Rod makes white people comfortable. White people, you know, and it's normally the reviews I've seen of white people doing this, they're the ones that throw out, oh yeah, you know, they might as well have just said, I would have voted for Obama a third term if I could, because this was those kind of white people. You know, they don't think they are, but by your review, I could tell. You know, first thing they tell you about is how they grew up around a bunch of black people and they never experienced racism. Yeah, because you're not on the oppressed side, you know, but you don't get to experience racism. And ironically enough, the main thing that was kind of missed from these people putting themselves into nigga bodies and shit is you're gonna have to deal with racism a little bit. But then again, they weren't just picking any niggas. You see at the end, this white bitch Googling, you know, more up and coming basketball players and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, they want the special niggas. They want the ones that, you know, get a little bit of taste. They get tantalized with that silver spoon. Oh, see that hidden symbolism and imagery. I'm gonna get to that. But yeah, when it came to Rod, I just feel like there was a couple of moments, you know, where he got his funny on, where we didn't quite need it this time. And also, it's not a surprise to me that white people loved his character. He was the less scary, funny, comedic relief, make me feel comfortable while being white again kind of character, which he was very successful in that role. And I think it was definitely needed to get this universal appeal and to get this man to gross at least 30 mil in the first 3 days. Okay, so I ain't mad at you, you know, finesse making that money, honey. I was talking to a good friend, and his idea was that it should have been like a heavy set but like fabulous black woman, you know, that sassy, you know, kind of heavier black friend, homegirl. You know, I think that would have added so much to the role. And also, even though, you know, a lot of people like to be like, well, if you want, you know, a powerful black girl in there, wooty blotty blue, why would you have her be, you know, overweight or wooty woo blotty blue? One, to bring some realism to it. Two, because even though as the African population we're not all at our healthiest, doesn't mean that we're not still fabulous, okay? And there are some sisters out there that, you know how to make themselves still look good, still be fabulous, funny, relatable, and all that kind of stuff. I think it would have added more to a universal appeal. It still would have kept the comedic relief, you know, and at the same time, you know, she really, I feel like they could have had a woman to really bring something to the role, like a young Monique or some, you know, someone like a young Monique, to go and do that role, you know. And just, I was talking to my homeboy about it earlier, you know, like I'm TS motherfucking A, you know. I don't know, I just feel like it could have been done well. I think so. Okay, I haven't done Chris. First off, his fine ass had better have been getting paid 5-6 mil per kiss, because I just cringed watching every scene. Like, this woman has no lips, and he's just got these gorgeous, juicy, full, like extra ebony lips, and it just was a struggle. It just looked like I was just thinking like, and then the contrast to his like super duper melody into her, you know, pale and pastiness. I'm just sitting here like, you better be getting paid to do this. You better be getting money. And even still, I don't know if I could kiss a white man, especially on film. I just don't know. I don't think I could. I feel like even if I tried, like, he just get this close to me, like he get that close, I'm like, okay, no, never mind. We don't have to show this scene. Like, there's a way you can allude to it happening without me actually having to do it. Just cut the camera when we get this close and they get what happened, you know? And best believe all of that money will be going back to African people. But anywho, yeah, aside from the whole kissing thing and whatnot, I think his character was very well written. And because it was well written, it was able to be very well played. Of course, they went and found the most melanated, you know, man they could. And, you know, they even have comments like, you have the fat white dude like, oh, you know, it used to be that the fairer skinned ones were in, but now, you know, the darker one is what's in. Black is, you know, what's hip right now. And I'm just sitting here when I heard that, and I'm just like, okay, I see you. I see you slipping little gems in there, you know. And I definitely, you know, can, even if you look at the tides of colorism and how things are shifting in African representation in mainstream. And I say this specifically because we should have no colorism within the African community, but it is always perpetuated and pushed on us by you know, the white people in control of everything, especially mainstream media. So it used to be, you know, we've seen, and we still see this a lot of interracial, racially ambiguous, mulatto or fair-skinned African men and women representing certain roles. But lately, when it's this push towards blackness, especially when they're pushing interracial propaganda, etc., they always are looking for the darkest and strongest and this and that they can find. I mean, we got Serena Williams. I hadn't spoke about Serena, y'all, but that shit broke my heart. Another dark-skinned, fabulous woman from Compton, just like me. We just sitting here. I'm like, yes, I don't even really fuck with tennis like that, but I fuck with you being strong, melanated, fabulous. And then and I see your Beyonce, and I'm just like, I mean, you couldn't find no black men. I know it's harder for us, but still. We also, like, over here in LA, they got these billboards of this super chocolate man wearing matching rose underwears with some European female with her pale hand on his behind and stuff, you know, and this is on several billboards, and it's normally around places, you know, where there's a larger black population. And then, you know, now they're really pushing Lupita's look and whatnot, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think there was talk of her with a white dude, or something like that. I'm not entirely sure, or either she was with them or doing like a film or something with them. But the point is, they're getting chocolate. Oh, Morris Chestnut, the nigga for black women, the main man, the most, just the epitome, and he always been with the black woman. And then here we go with this new Rosewood TV show that he's doing, where he's with the Hispanic chick, and it's just like, you know. And then of course Luke Cage, where he ends up with the off-brand chick, and is, you know, things are like real awkward between him and the only almost decent, but still, y'all see my explanation of Luke Cage and my problems with the black female representation in that, so you get it. But if not, go watch it. But yeah, there's this huge push for, you know, the interracial thing, and it used to be, you know, they were pushing for more racially ambiguous, lighter skinned, or, you know, biracial African people, and promoting them. But now it's kind of shifted towards more melanated people. So with that being said, his little slick comment of, we used to prefer fair skin. Also, you can look at a historical reference, the brown paper bag test, the bourgeoisie class for African people, the passing and all that kind of stuff. And you look at people who were able to, like Dorothy Dandridge and Josephine Baker and all these, you know, mixed up, you know, lighter skinned, you know, and biracial, multiracial, whatever African people, and the privilege they were able to ascend to, versus, you know, the rest of us who couldn't even audition if we wanted to. So there's a lot of things that they say in there. Another thing on Chris's acting, he's from Europe. Well, he's a displaced African from Europe, y'all. He naturally has a European accent. I mean, I guess I naturally have a European accent. I'm speaking English, but like from the continent of Europe, from not even the continent, because it's not set, from the landmass of Europe, he's got one of those kind of accents, and he really sounded like a regular old brother from over here. You know, he sounded like somebody who could have been my neighbor, some old girl from the street from me or something. So that was cool. I think also there's a lot of scenes where he doesn't do too much talking, and it's all in here. It's all in here, and it's all in the body language. And little sister, it's all in here, and it's all in the body language. And this man was phenomenal. Every moment was believable with him. Every moment was believable. Yeah, basically that. And then also, there were certain things that I was like, okay, what's the deal with what's going on with this shit? That at first I'm like, okay, this is just, okay, where is it going with this? But at the end, when it all clicked and made sense, I was like, oh shit. With that being said, how they made certain things click, like how we found out that, full spoiler alert, that Georgina and the dude out chopping wood were her grandparents. I feel like that reveal could have been done a little better. Like, she just says grandma, and then she says grandpa, and it's just like, and we get it, but it's just like, I feel like those reveals could have been done a little better. But when it was revealed and you did click on what was going on with those two, it made so much make sense, and it was so worth it to find out what the hell was up with these people the whole time. So basically, they go get this strong, big black man who's always chopping wood and doing manual labor and stuff. And we like, on this big plantation style looking house around all these white people, and we're like, okay, here we go with this shit again. Like, what's his deal? Is he gonna be a coon? I was thinking, like, what's his case? You know, another stereotypical setup. But when it turns out, because the white father, his father was the guy who lost to Jesse Jackson and in the Olympics, and he ended up, like, I guess, dedicating his life to try. He was obsessed with black people and wanted to experience what it's like to be the best. So he's over here old and shit, and they sit there and transfer part of his mind into a dude's body. And now he's always doing manual labor, physical things, running really fast at night and stuff, getting his exercise. Why? Because it's a white man enjoying the experience and the body of a black man, especially athletic black man, who matches the athleticism that he was never able to achieve in his white body, and he became obsessed with experiencing. Same with grandma. Old white woman, definitely all up in here, all up in the face, enjoying her experience as an African woman. And she's over here doing house things and whatnot, but she also just spends a lot of time looking at herself and stuff, simply because she's just enjoying herself. This isn't for these two, because they were of a white mind. They were not feeling like they were experiencing or subjugated to any type of stereotypical roles or some type of, slavery or demeaning level. They were just like enjoying their bodies and feeling fabulous. So I think that was definitely interesting as well. Oh, the dude from San Bernardino. I don't know if y'all know about San Bernardino, California or not, but that is definitely one of the most wildest and ratchetest places I have come to experience in my life. And to see this actor, in this role, knowing where he's from and the other things he's done and how he started out, it's just like, one, congratulations, how'd you weed through all the other fuck shit to get there, Two, that must have been some kind of a commute, because LA and San Bernardino are not next door to each other, And then three, this man did an excellent job. I would love to see more from him and to see more from his character, but he served his purpose fabulously. He did exactly what he was supposed to do in the film. And that was, Warner Brother. But to see him switch so immediately characters, and to be able to go from actually, or being a white man who one would say was possessed, another would say is literally his mind was removed, and then a white mind was transferred, and he's stuck in a subconscious state. He really went from selling the hell out of that role, and it's he a cutie pie and whatnot, but to see him dressed like that, looking like, he's fresh out of a march with Dr. King and whatnot. And then he's with an older, wealthy white woman. It's just like, and again, these things are making us cringe if you know how he says, because it just looks so disturbing to see this white woman who's like 60 with someone who's playing a 30-year-old man, but he's really only like, he can't be too much older than me. He probably only like 26, 27. Who knows? But that stuff's already making you cringe. That moment that phone flashed and he switched, that shows how hard that the nigga in him was fighting to get out, fighting to regain consciousness of his own body. It shows you just how hard he was fighting to do that. The second that camera flashed, the first thing that he was doing was going and telling that man to get the fuck out of there. Just imagine being on the inside of that body and stuck in the sunken place. All you are is a passenger in your subconscious, and you're fighting. The main thing that you're fighting for is not just control of your body, but for the opportunity to warn a brother. That's all that you can tell, because some people, you get that, you know, you flash them and they just take a moment to get reused to their body again, or maybe they'll run away or some shit like that. No, this man, get out, get out. He, boom, I'm coming for you. Let me help you before they get me back, bro. You know, and I think that is amazing. Just the thought of the idea, and you know, actually putting it into a reality state, and for us to have that kind of character hidden in the black man. I'm going to get more into the possessiveness vibe and the things that I think deeper on that in a second, but definitely commend him for that role. He did it well, served his purpose, and definitely at the timing that came into the movie, it was just like that shit had you like, shit, what is going on? Like, what is going on? Like, yo, like, you need, like, what did happen to him, you know? And then again, later on when things happen, we find out what was really going on. That shit made so much sense. There's something about the flashing of a light, like camera flash or something like that, that will snaps them out of it. And I really wonder why he chose it to be a camera flashing. I feel like there's some symbolism there that I cannot quite immediately put my finger on, but I'd really love to hear why he chose the camera flashing being what takes them out of the sunken place and gives them back consciousness of their bodies. You know, we see this whole thing going on with Kanye. He made the song Flashing Lights, so hopefully when I find out why Jordan Peele specifically chose that, there's a connection I can find in that as well. But most deaf. Let's get on the white characters now. I did all the black ones, right? Yes. Gonna get on the white characters now. First things first, that white Birch that played Rose. First off, I'm glad they gave her the name Rose, because guess what? Roses really smell like boo 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 boo. Okay, boo boots? Yes. It turns out that Andre 3000 and friends had some sense when they called it on that one. So yes, call that. And also, Rose is a basic white woman name. And they definitely chose a basic white woman to play this role. They did not go get some, you know, they didn't get like Jennifer Lawrence, who, what's the like Scarlett Johansson? I don't know. They didn't get some more fabulous. I'm just trying to think of like fabulous white women. Meryl Streep kind of does her thing a little bit, but she's old, so she definitely couldn't have. I don't know, but they didn't go get no like. Here's a white girl that people love. The one who played in the, what is her name? She played in the Transformers series, and she played in that other horror film with another white girl who I guess could have played the role. She's definitely not as basic, but does her name start with a V? Her last name's Fox. Her last name's Fox, but that white girl. They didn't get someone like her to play it. They just got some regular old, you know, not your traditional sorority girl, but definitely your regular old basic European female. I do find it interesting that they didn't keep it 100 and get some bottom barrel, lower pick of the litter white woman who's probably overweight and tries to be black, because that is majority of what I see with interracial dating when it comes to black men. They go and get some bottom shelf white woman. I went to college with it. I went to high school with it, part-time and whatnot. You know, my dad's neighborhood is saturated with it. You know, some of the areas I kind of grew up in was saturated with it too. Like, if you do see a black man dating outside his race, it's normally not some top shelf, you know, extra beautiful or, you know, extra special, European or non-African person. It's just like some basic. A lot of times you be looking at, I'm like, I just seen that stuff the other day. I'm not gonna go into details because you may watch my videos. But yeah, I've been seeing that stuff. I've been seeing that stuff all the time. If they do that, so I think that it was good that they chose her. Although it wouldn't have lost its sense of reality if they chose worse. With that said, I think she played her role excellently. She did. She did a fantastic job. And you know me, I knew that bitch was the shit from Jump Street, and that's just the way it was, boo boos. Okay. But you know, I don't be trusting them in the first place. But the point of the matter is, I definitely think she did an excellent job. Now, the reveal, because I mean, I can't just get on acting and whatnot. You're talking to someone who was a thespian, as well as someone who was a writer, and you know, someone with a visionary and you know, a small production eye and whatnot. So, and you know, bringing that whole thing together, I got to give my analysis on all levels. It's a holistic thing. I know I like to do things a bit holistically. But when he started looking through them pictures, nigga after nigga after nigga after nigga after nigga, even got a sister in there too. And I'm just sitting here like, they ain't playing no games with you niggas. They not. None at all. They're not playing no games. And the thing that pissed me off the most, it's like the reality to it, which I can appreciate in the film. But when I think about the reality that I'm living in right now, I'm just sitting here like, that stuff just kills me, because it kills me that there's some facts to that these women go through, ruining the lives of African man after African man after African man after African man after. Like, Seal wears nail polish now. Seal, beautiful, soulful voice sounding, blackest of the black African man, fresh off the continent, is with some the whitest you can get of a white woman, wearing black nail polish and shit. Now he ain't come out like that, you know. It just is just to see they plotting, to see that they've been plotting on a nigga, and it's like, black women have been telling y'all that they've been plotting on you niggas. I don't know what you doing over there. And this is not to say that there's a lot to not be discussed about what black women date interracially and stuff as well, but this movie was about a black man and a white woman. And what's normally pushed is a black man and a white woman. I think it is very interesting to see this film with the writer being who he is, because it's the perspective of a biracial man with a white wife, which is another reason why we got to remind us, this is not a pro-black film, this is not a conscious film, this is not none of that. It's just a thriller horror movie, okay? This is written by a biracial man with a white wife. Now, for things to have gotten as real as it got, with that, knowing that as the case, I have to give my little clap with that. I have to give my little clap, you know, because, you know, he did a lot and said a lot, took a lot of risks and stuff, especially with the understanding of self and his life and whatnot, his reality. With that being said, I think Rose did an excellent job. I definitely rarely think of it, because the only original white movie Rose I knew was from Titanic, and Rose, Jack. That just annoyed the shit out of me. And I think she visually fit Titanic, but did not actually do too well of a job. But this new Rose in my head, definitely, I like the idea of better than the Titanic Rose. What else? Oh, that her acting, like her acting when she was acting, like the way she was acting, playing someone who was acting towards him. I was like, this bitch, you know, oh, I can't find the keys. Like, I'm like, bitch, when you gonna give that shit up? Like, we know you ain't shit. This whole process, we knew he wasn't shit. And especially when they showed the pictures, and especially like how she was flipping his psychology and whatnot because he wanted to leave, and then mad at the brother for breaking down and you know, putting her in the place of his African mother when he was breaking down to her about the holistic truth behind his mother's death and whatnot, and then he said he ain't never gonna leave her because of how the guilt he felt for his African mother. I'm like, I know you did not put this white bitch in the place of your mama, but he did, because you know why? It's a movie. And it's not just a movie. This is like, we got niggas out here really thinking like this. This is a black man in an interracial relationship with some psychological issues that he hasn't quite been able to work through. And a lot of it has to do with systematic oppression. A lot of it has to do with the psychological effects of systematic oppression. And he's misplaced things, and now he's in this position to where he really feels like it's adequate to put this cave beast in the position of the queen that gave birth to him. You know, with that being said, oh, you know, she just milked the shit out of that. Absolutely did. And he should have known when she said, okay, let me go, you know, grab something or whatever, that her ass would have been up to some shit. This is what you get for trying to leave with her. You should have just dipped, snatched the keys, your damn self, etc., etc., you know? But no. You know, you doing the right nigga thing by, you know, trying to leave, but you waited too long, and like some white people are saying, and you tried to take her with you. And those are the only two places you fucked up, man. With that being said, the brother's character. Definitely, he was meant to be the contrast to Rod. He was meant to be the darkest parts of passive white people and whatnot. That jealousy, that hatred, that animosity, that voodoo black people. The fact that he, you know, it was alluded that he had wrangled the last nigga up and shit. Like, his character, definitely, I wonder whether or not he was needed. But then again, it couldn't be a horror film without some creepy white dude who's like got thin hair and is emotionally unstable. I definitely think also that scene at the table when he was asking him what kind of fighting styles and this and the third, days into sizing him up, woo-doo, blocky blue, and at the same time being loads of envy. It's like, with your genetic makeup and this, that, and the third, like, you would be a beast, woo-doo, blocky blue. You know, the way he was going about it, I would have, if I was Chris in that situation, I'd have been holding my dinner knife the whole time. Like, I don't know when I'm going to have to slit your throat because you doing a little too much for me, boo-boos, you know. Also, to see the struggle between those two when they did fight and whatnot, to see that idea of a white man, which very much so do exist in reality, and then what Chris represented as a black man, and to see them fight and to see that struggle, I think was very cool. I do. And I think that it is important that it was not extremely easy for Chris to knock him out and kill him. And I say that because in reality, that shit's not gonna be easy. You know, we as African people, a lot of us have natural abilities and are naturally, you know, we can naturally get the shit, you know. But, and even though that's the case for the majority of us, how many of us is not practicing, not training, not doing this, not doing that, not eating right, not living in natural conditions that keep us at our maximum optimum health? There's too many of us really just getting by on the coincidence that, you know, we're melanated beings, you know, and these crackers know what's up. They know that what we've got going on naturally. So they're training and they're working and they're training and they're working and they're training and they're working this whole time while still trying to maintain this white supremacy system, so that if ever we decided to get with the shit, they would have a chance against us. And all this time we're sitting here not training and working, they're sitting there training and working. It's making it harder for us. Not impossible, but definitely harder for sure. With that being said, I think that the execution, and also if you look at it, more symbolism. They had the white boy attacking him from behind whole time. Even when they were fighting and they were grappling and whatnot, he came back up and he was trying to hold him back from behind. You don't want that head up. You can't see me face to face. So you gonna just sneak up on it, nigga. That's what that was. And I think that was, I don't know if that was done intentionally, but it was done well, that whole struggle. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna say them all for last. White dad. His character. I mean, he was just almost too it was a refreshing cliche. You know, I think I think Rose and the dad especially perfectly represent the passive racist white people in this world. If you guys know me, if you know anything about me, I know I happen to be able to have several receipts to show that all white people are either actively or passively racist. And I think Rose and the dad did passive racist so well. So well. Like the kind that really think that like it's all good. You know, like they're not that bad. You know, even just the way that Pops was talking to him the whole time. And then the fact that Rose had the nerve to pretend to feel some type of way about her dad treating her boyfriend that way. Like this shit ain't routine. She there was too many pictures. I didn't even count all the pictures. She was too routine. Like the nerve of her to even, that's like someone stealing from you and then helping you find your money. Like that's what Rose was. Robbing and then want to pretend like she gonna help him find the wallet. Like anywho, I think Dad's role was executed properly. I think, you know, older white male, older progressive white male who like knows what's real, but will front long enough to get his MO. I think that that represents a strong population of European people accurately. I think Rose, you know, pretending to care about him and flexing her privilege on him in his face, emasculating him. First off, this white woman continuously and repeatedly emasculated the shit out of that black man. And the only reason why I cannot be entirely mad at the situation is because there is some reality to it. I've seen it. I do see it, and I continue to see it. It's some bullshit. As far as writing and film goes, it was excellently done. As far as its relatability and the fact that you can get some reality from that, pisses me off more so as a reflection on us, that we really got our men, our, you know, at least physically and visually strong, you know, very masculine African men being ran by basic bitches, like, you know. And like I said, I see it. It's not often that I see some scraggly old black. I see brothers that if you look at them like, ooh, like I might want to talk to him, or like, oh, okay, Zeddy, where you come from? You know, I've been seeing some really like, you know, affluent, full of potential, you know, your typical idea of strong black men with these bottom of the barrel basic women getting ran, especially in college, especially with the athletes. You know, I see it. I'm in LA, I'm in Hollywood and stuff all the time, and I see it walking up and down Hollywood Boulevard and stuff. Just like strong, gorgeous black men. Most of them have something going on, some kind of money, some kind of or they're doing some kind of sport or Utubati Blue or something like that, and they be walking around with just like, ugh, and then being ran. The fact that Rose flexed her privilege on him and, you know, ended up making it so that he did not have to give the officer his ID, did two things. One, not only did it emasculate him in the way she was talking to him, even on the whole car ride, had the nerve to like think his homeboy like her, and then like play with him on the phone in her man face. Foul. Then the way, now mind you, I'd have snatched it through the cigarette too, but coming from her and how it was and everything about it and her logic behind it and her purpose for throwing out that cigarette completely made him look like some ancient ass weak ass dude, you know. Now, and also she wasn't trying to have him quit smoking because she loved him and cared about his health and didn't want him to catch cancer. She didn't want him smoking because it's damaging this body that's worth good money that she's going to help her parents, you know, stay rich and wealthy off of by selling. Yeah, that's why she threw the cigarette. That's the only reason. And then the woes pull up, and you want to play Captain Save a White Bitch while muting his ass and talking to him in a type of tone and stuff, and then talking to the white man in that tone and stuff too. And the only other thing about that is actually, especially when he said it was hot that she did that, is it also romanticized this idea in interracial relationships that somehow, as a black person, you can escape racism by being with a non-black person. I don't know too many white women who are really going to stand up to white men, especially, but other white people, to defend and secure the treatment of their African counterpart. I don't think I've ever heard of it personally. Now, it may happen once every blue moon, and again, this is a movie, but it's very, very dangerous because there are niggas out there who will completely overlook all the other things wrong with her and the fact that she was ultimately a part of the plot to kidnap his consciousness and his body and shit, and will focus on the fact that, you know, the white bitch saved him from the police. So it's very dangerous, a very dangerous romanticized thought, but it was done. Um, now we all thought at the end. Now this would have made it like a full out horror film, thriller. Cherry on top would have been if that cop car that pulled up wasn't TSA and his homeboy coming to save him. If it was the actual police and the white police officer from earlier. And I would love to see an alternate ending where it is the white police officer. And I want to see two things, two different endings. The first one be he comes out and, you know, arrests and or kills Chris. You know, he sees a white woman dying in the street and shit, kills the black man or arrests the black man. The other one would have been, also has some realism to it too. If, yeah, he would have did all that shit to Chris and whatnot, but he also would have just like left the white woman to die. No 911, no nothing. Looked at her crazy, might have even said some slick shit and just left her. And I say that because, one, European men don't really, it's their relationship with their woman is very interesting. Sometimes they really just don't give two flying flamingos about their women. You know, you see it throughout history on how they always offer up their women, how they treat them crazy, you know, make them black and blue, all kinds of stuff. Like, just even if you look at their greatest, the cultures that they held up to the highest esteem, like their Greco-Roman cultures and whatnot, their old Victorian cultures, they treated women like shit and really glorified pedophilia and homosexuality. That was their thing. So, you know, and then also the ones who did mess with women, it wasn't because of their womanness, it was because of their whiteness, you know. And there would be cases, a couple of cases throughout history where a white woman will be found out messing with a black man or whatever, and then they'll go and treat her like shit, or, you know, lynch her with him or some shit like that. You know, stuff like that happen every once in a while. Now, the fact that this woman was an agent would explain the first ending, why he goes and calls for 911 and whatnot, because he's probably getting paid, you know, off the back end and is in on the plot or whatever. He probably was getting paid to have that scene where she ends up checking him and making it seem like, you know, it's all good with her and dude. You know, I wouldn't be surprised because the police, you know, that fraternity is all funded by the upper echelon white people, have been since slavery. Back when they were slave patrol, they were overseers and shit. Turned slave patrol, turned police officers. So it makes sense that the same people paying overseers and slave patrol is the same people paying the police. So what if that police was just the actor the whole time, or he was getting paid to pretend, like to almost harass and then get checked by her, like if they were both in on it the whole time, you know. So that's the interesting concept. So to see the white male police officer come up and he, you know, let the white bitch die, and maybe he said some shit about it, or B, you know, kill the black man or hurt the black man, throw him in jail or whatever, and then call for help for the white girl and she ends up breathing and shit again. Both of those would be nice alternate endings. A third dope ass alternate ending it would be if Rob was portrayed by a black woman the whole time, and, you know, she pulls up and does her thing, says the same lines but just coming from a black woman instead. I think that would have been just like cherry as well, because ultimately, universally speaking, the general population speaking, and historically speaking, it's always black women coming to save y'all asses. Now, Don't get me wrong, as I said before, ain't nobody had black women the way black men have, but that shit is definitely vice versa. So the second we start realizing that we ain't shit without each other, and that we all gotta have each other for real, and that some of us got each other more than we think we do, then you'll realize, you know, that we really do this shit. And also, we'll see the importance and the value on black love. And there was no black love in this entire movie, but it's not a black love film. It's not a pro-black, not a conscious, none of that. It's a biracial man with a white wife writing a movie. With that being said, I also understand why he probably didn't conceive to the importance of a type of black female character like I'm talking about, because in his reality, that's not really the case. Now, before I get more into the plots, I want to take care of the mother. The mother definitely had me cringing the entire time. I think her role was excellent. I think that the symbolism of using a silver spoon to hypnotize African people, you know, trances into all that stuff, I think that was excellent. Excellent symbolism. I think that it's great that I never seen her without her teacup, and that she was always the white woman, always ready to, you know, when the men are fucking up, snap things into control, you know. And basically, and she was such a important part. She had such a key role to play in how her character and stuff was presented, because you know, she did that stuff where, you know, she snuck and hypnotized him. Well, although I do have a theory that Rose was pre-hypnotizing him the whole time, but she snuck to hypnotize him and appeared as a good thing. See, I'm forcing my way on you, but it's for your own good, because now you don't want to smoke anymore. Even though I've prepared you for slaughter, and I'm planning to help rob you of your consciousness, you know. But the way she came, as, you know, just trying to help, and, you know, just knowing what's best, and also trying to look out for her daughter and whatnot. It also shows the loyalty of of white women to their white men, whether it be sister, daughter, mother. You know, ultimately their loyalty did not lie with their significant other, but with their people ultimately. And that's the truth of the matter. That's what it is. You really can't prove to me otherwise. You know, even, I don't know. But that's that. So now let's get into things and the plot. I think it is so genius that he took the cotton from the chair and shoved it in his ears for him to not hear the spoon and whatnot, to get hypnotized. And I think he acting that part, because that was him acting to get hypnotized. I think he did that very well. I was convinced that he was hypnotized again. So you gotta imagine my surprise when he popped up and started stealing on old boy. That shit was genius. And the symbolism of him using the cotton, because, you know, niggas been picking cotton. I think that was pretty cool. I think that was a pretty cool touch. I was wondering I knew that was a nervous habit, partly from smoking and then partly from fear that he was always, you know, scratching on the stuff. And I think that was an excellent way of using that to be fruitful for him in the end. Now, let's be honest, for those of us who've seen this movie, we were all so lit with that crack to that white boy head. And then he cracked him 2 more just in case, and we saw blood, and we was like, shit's legit. It's lit. This is it. It's happening. It's happening. He had no remorse. No remorse. And I was loving it. Then he come up on Pops. Ain't nothing, just stab him real quick, for sure. You know? And the fact that you know, that the candle fell in the room, caught on fire and stuff. I would have loved to see the whole house in flames in the end. But it would have took some time for that fire to spread, and they exited the scene faster than it would have gotten to that point. But, you know, the fact that all those white people bid him for him for different reasons, some to be cooler, some to be faster, some to be younger, some to be more this and that. But the white man who wanted him the most was for something internal. And I think that's what we have to realize. These Europeans ain't only just, hating on us because of our natural abilities. There is something inside of us that we possess that they do not. And I kind of believe that's a soul. But the fact that he was like, I want your eyes, I want to be able to see the gritty things, I want to be able to see life like you do. I want to be able to experience, things like empathy and emotion and depth, things that Europeans as a collective have all struggled a hard time experiencing. There's a couple of studies out there that I'd researched where it proves that Europeans, when they're supposed to feel sympathy, the part of their brain that activates is um, it's like it's mimicking empathy. It's not sympathy, it's empathy. They're responding how they think they're supposed to respond, but they're not. It's not really, there's no connection there. That's why so many white people have such a hard time seeing themselves in other people's shoes, is because they, like, cognitively are not very strong in that area at all. You know, that's why we're able to see funny white faces and white people make certain facial expressions and get a laugh out of it like we do, because of the fact that they've been making these faces that, those faces where they look sad but they're not, or they look like, oh, I'm sorry, but it looks so fake and shit. Like, we all know these faces, and we all see these faces on Europeans all the time. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they can't truly feel where you're coming from. They can't really put themselves psychologically or emotionally in your shoes. They don't have the capacity to, so they just act like how they're supposed to act and whatnot. So the fact that this white man wanted his eyes, and basically his consciousness, his mental, his spiritual connection to things, and how he was able to see the world, I think was very deep. Because ultimately, out of all the reasons those people were bidding in that auction, out of all the things that people wanted most, whether it be, sexual libido or whatever the case may be, the one thing that, as a collective European whole, the one thing that they wanted most was that soul, that soul that they always say we got. That even when white people sing something or do something soulful like us, well, it doesn't feel as authentic. It never looks quite the same. It's never quite as graceful. It's never quite as real, because they don't got it. No matter what Robin Thicke sings, no matter how beautiful his voice is, you don't ever feel like how you feel when Luther Vandross is singing, or when like Charlie Wilson or and all those other people. Like, as much as we love Bruno's music and his voice, and it's just popular and whatever, you're not gonna ever feel like how you do when you hear Boyz II Men or like New Edition and those harmonies, or any other of the other music like his style that came out with black people before. And I think that was an excellent choice on who won, and why that person won the bid on that black man. And also, I would love to know how they could understand the bid numbers with that silent bid with the bingo cards, because of how people stand to one. I'm like, that's just kind of, I wonder how to read that. Another thing that I really appreciated about the plot, he ain't waste no time with the white mom either. He ain't waste no time. You saw her, and they both saw the cup. And he's like, oh, yeah, not this time. And she's like, okay, I figured it out. I'm ready for you now. And that's the thing with all the first three. Like, he had figured it out, and he was ready for him. The blatant passive, all that kind of stuff, he was ready for him. And waste no time. I wish she could have died a little slower, though, actually. Simply because not just the psychological trauma and torture that she put him through, but she would have had to die slow for every African person that she had in those torture chambers of our own bodies. Which, by the way, white people living inside of African people's consciousness, I'll get to the symbolism in that in a minute, because that's very important too. But most effing definitely she would have had to die a lot slower for me to feel good enough. Now seeing her die and seeing him kill her, that was something. But oh yeah, just she needs a torture chamber. She needs a torture chamber. Put her ass in the sunken place. You know, do so. I don't know. I just feel like it needed to be worse for her. It needed to be worse. Um, okay. So now, mind you, they got the audacity of this European woman, Rose, upstairs being weird, eating cereal separate in a bowl and then drinking milk on the side with the black straw, like that contract. I don't know, that whole shit was kind of weird. While scouting out her next victim, it's like the nerve of these hoes. And there's some truth to it. There's some reality to it. These European, I've seen it, in college, and we hear about this stuff all the time, especially about European women getting with African men, going and scouting out the more upper echelon, the more affluent ones, the ones who've gotten, further in white society, whether it be, because of their entertaining abilities or their athletic abilities or whatever the case, and the second that things don't go their way, they go and get them into some trouble, cry, rape, whatever the case, talking crazy, getting like that, all kinds of stuff, y'all, all kinds of stuff, and then they move on to the next nigga. That's exactly what happens. And that's exactly what happens. This man wasn't even fully, like they didn't even fully put a white mind in him yet. And she already looking for the next one. Like, she ain't wasting no time. And I'm like, the audacity, but the reality was really genius on it, Now, we've already come to the conclusion that the grandparents were in the house helps' bodies. Okay, cool. Now, this is some shit right here. I'm talking about the body first. If you think about it, art is definitely imitating life a lot right now in this movie, because how many African people are living in the sunken place? We're not truly ourselves. A lot of us are thinking like, acting like, underneath the visual reality of our oppressors. They literally have our minds as a group whole and whatnot. And it was crazy, not crazy, but it was interesting to see him portray that so well. We have so many African people not thinking like African people. We are in unnatural circumstances. We are in unnatural environments. We are in unnatural situations and this and the third, and all of this unnaturalness is all towards to making things comfortable for an unnatural people, which is the European people. So basically, the fact that there was white minds and black bodies is such a reflection. We see this in our coons, we see this in our super Negroes and stuff like that. We see this all the time. White minds and black bodies, like that mental bondage, that mental slavery is killing us right now, and it's definitely something that we are dealing with for sure. So I thought that was a genius portrayal, and a genius way to do things. And then also about how the higher up you get, the closer you get with upper affluent white people, the less African you become, to the point where you're an African shell, to whiteness. And we see this all the time with the upper bourgeoisie class, the petty bourgeoisie black class, where the higher up you get, the less black the black men seem. Their grooming tendencies are different. What they deem as acceptable, their behaviors, their mannerisms, all that doesn't quite mirror the rest of us down here. So it's definitely that was definitely genius. Now, he figured out that the camera flash pulls you out. No, actually, first, before we can get there, he accidentally hits Georgina, the black woman who was the grandma on the inside. He accidentally hits her. And he's having a serious debate on whether or not to go pick this woman up and save her, or to leave her there. This is an elder black woman. Something very strange going on. Now, mind you, he has this internal debate. It's like a 30 seconds of him debating or whatever. Then he goes back gets her, puts her in the car. She's still knocked out from when he hit her. You know? And I'm just hoping, please don't let this black woman attack him. But I'm like, you know what, Jai? It ain't gonna be a movie if this black woman doesn't attack him. You know, and I'm just sitting here praying that she don't, simply because then we'll have no, like, we already had no, but it just make it worse. Like, it's just gonna, I hear niggas now bringing that shit up. Yeah, he did try to save the black woman, and look what she did to him. Da-da-da-da-da-da. You know, and I was like, I don't want to have to even let there be a point for people to even say stuff like that, but it was already too late. The movie had already been casted, directed, made, and sent out to film and all that other kind of stuff. So it was already done. Excuse me. It was already done. So, but there is a bit of reality to it. This black woman who was so far gone, who was mentally enslaved, that, you know, she's about to be saved, being able to be herself again, return back to her African queenhood, especially, you know, her being an elder. Now, she wasn't, I don't think she was playing someone who was like, you know, 70 or nothing, but she definitely, bare minimum, was late 40s, early 50s, but she still looked amazing, you know? She still looked absolutely amazing for her age. I almost want to Google her actual age and the age she was supposed to play in the movie. I don't know, but take out the black don't crack part. The point is, this is supposed to be an elder. She had an old white mind, and, you know, he's trying to save her, and she's still stuck in that mind, to where she ends up trying to hurt him instead. Now let's role flip a little bit, you know, and make it, you know, a black woman trying to save a black man. The first person I think of is Harriet Tubman. How she's sitting here running the Underground Railroad and had to put the shotgun on her own damn husband because he wanted to go back and shit, you know? And that's how gangster we gotta be about this shit, honestly. You know, growing up hearing about Harriet Tubman in school and stuff, I was just like, okay. But when I found out how dedicated she was to the liberation of African people and the lengths and extremes of which she was willing to go, that's how we gotta be about it. And I really fuck with my ancestor Harriet Tubman for that, because that's some warrior goddess shit right there, okay? But the reality being that, you know, we do have brothers and sisters that are trying to save those that are not, and them are the ones turning around and drowning, like, you know, hurting us and making it difficult, you know. And mind you, because when she attacked him in the car, he did not die. He did not die. So I think that's a very important thing to look at, that even though he's getting away and stuff, and symbolism, like, I guess freedom is hard, you know, it's difficult. He had to full out brawl with the white boy, sneak up on dude and whatnot, you know, and now he's getting attacked by, you know, a sister who's mentally gone. He still made it out. A little battered and bruised, but he gonna be all right. He didn't even have no broken bones. He was just jacked up a little bit, you know. So I think that when we're watching this, out of all the things that we can gather, a lot of things that we can be upset about, let's remember that hard doesn't mean impossible. And even though he was trying to save this woman, she ended up turning on him, it still did not get in the way of him achieving his ultimate goal, which was getting the hell up out of there, okay? Which leads into this next part. He's getting attacked by the older black man, you know, which the same symbolism as that struggle between the youth, our African youth, and African elders, and that disconnect that we have, and them, you know, trying to force us into conformity and to continue to be, you know, accepting this perpetuated slavery and whatnot. The psychological and physiological, economical, etc. All these codes, instead of them trying to, this shows the struggle of them trying to force us to just go with the flow, accept it, do it right. We don't want to piss off master or whatever, or this is how we were propagated to do it, and this is how y'all got to do it too. And you literally see that struggle between the youth and the elders in that scene where they're fighting. and the elder almost wins. The elder almost chokes the life out of them, which is what a lot of our elders are doing. We've got people getting kicked out because they're not Christian. We got people whose inheritance have been snatched. We got people, all kinds of young African people who decided, I want to be buying for African people. I want to strive toward our liberation. I want to get rid of all these psychological and emotional and mental as well as physical shackles that this society and European people are putting us in. I want to be free. And we've literally got our elders, making it as hard for us as possible, especially our religious ones. Not all, but a lot. Too many cases I know personally, and I've also personally experienced, people getting cut off, put out wutu batabu for saying, I'm not going to do things like how you want me to do things because there's something wrong with your way and it hasn't worked for generations. So I think that the visually and that metaphorical struggle was excellently portrayed. And the flash bringing them out, I still want to know why he specifically chose a camera flash. Maybe it's something convenient because he was able to do it from his phone that he had in his pocket, or maybe there's a deeper meaning behind it. I don't know, but I would love to find out. My only thing was, shoots Grandpa. Mind you, the black man inside Grandpa has been visually a passenger to his own body this whole time. So he knows what the hell is going on and what has been going on to this man this whole time. But he also knows what's been going on to African people this whole time that come up over there. He also knows what's happened to him. So, two things. One, I'd like to say I understand why he took the shotgun and shot old girl, because that was for himself, and also because he probably didn't get to shoot the parents and whatnot. So I'm pretty sure, that's why I rationalized that. I would have loved to seen him hand the gun to Chris and Chris shoot the white woman, but that didn't happen. He did get the gun from her, as Grandpa successfully got the gun from her and then turned it on her, shot her. And that's the thing, he didn't shoot her enough. But my thing is, the only thing that killed me is after he shot her, he shot himself. Now, I understand why he shot himself, but at the same time, I don't entirely, because I say understand why as a metaphorical sense, it will make sense that, he's regained consciousness. Like we do have some elders that have gained or regained their consciousness, and they want, that old part of them that was not always that way to die. And I guess he shot himself in the head. You can think of it. It might be a stretch, but you can think of it as him shooting the old ideology, the old consciousness, that way of thinking, killing that. But also imagine rehabilitation after that. You've been a passenger to your own body for how long? For how long? Because those old white people, they've been in their bodies for a minute, okay? So how long have you been a passenger? What things have you witnessed? What things have you seen this man do with your body? What things have you had to go through that you'd rather not be a part of, There's no telling what horrors and atrocities. So wanting to be dead versus trying to figure out how to live again. Excuse me, y'all. I guess there's some understanding to that as well. I do wish Chris would have shot her, though, which brings me to my next point. Now, here we are. White woman, still breathing, still alive, still reaching for the gun. She's still trying to kill this nigga, And he goes over there, and he's strangling her. And any real niggas in the audience is like, yes, get the light, squeeze until everything in between your fingers melts into a molten liquid and just spills and gushes. Just, yes, And at the last second, she starts saying, I love you and shit. And me being me, I'm sitting here like, please don't, after all this nigga, please don't buy this shit. Which leads me to my theory that she had been brainwashing him the whole time. She probably learned a thing or two from her mama and was brainwashing him from jump. And that was trying to send him back into the mental state he was when he had to get with it. Because I do think that African people, men and women, have to psychologically put themselves into a certain place in order to be complacent and okay with the interracial relationship, especially if the other side is white. So maybe those were the trigger words to get him, get him back or whatever. But the fact that he did not have the heart to kill her says a lot to me. It annoys me because I really needed that W. It would have just been in a movie, but Black women really needed that W. Black people really needed that W for his greatest betrayer, the person that's been plotting on him for 4 months, the person that completely played his life, the person that got him into that whole situation stuff and all that kind of stuff, the one person who had done him the foulest. We was hoping to see him be strong enough to combat properly, to exterminate. And he did it. There was something in him holding on to her and what they had and stuff to where he did it. Now also we can look at things because I heard through the grapevine that he wrote this movie after getting into an argument with his white wife, mind you, biracial man, white wife. This is not from, the writer is not coming from a full African perspective. He's coming from a biracial perspective. Even if you see Key and Peele in a lot of their shows, they literally are capable of playing any and every race. They've done it successfully and have really looked authentic in each role, like when they play Middle Eastern, or even when they play European people, or when they play, all this kind of stuff. Like, they really get into their roles and they really are convincing. So I seen Jordan Peele writing this movie not as a Black man writing about his Black experience, but as a biracial man writing about his experience while trying to build the narrative of a Black man. So it was almost like him picking Chris for the role and whatnot and all that kind of stuff was more so of him writing as a passenger. I felt like he was writing as a passenger than as the driver, because he probably does not know what it feels like to be a full-time, full-fledged, non-deniably, no getting around it, African man. With that being said, we'd have to be delusional to pretend like Jordan Peele and the main character who plays Chris has had the same life experience, especially when it comes to how the world responds to them. And I mean, biracial pills are normally easier pills to swallow for society. Jordan Peele is a lot less threatening, a lot less, scary, a lot of things than the main character in that movie, So it's allowed him to probably maneuver and be able to get into different places and do different things and be able to dance on certain lines and be not as controversial to have a white wife, like versus when, I forgot the name of the guy who played Nat and who wrote the movie, but when people found out that he had a white wife, they were a lot more hurt than finding out that a biracial comedian man has a white wife. You see what I'm saying? So for all of y'all, you're perpetuating colorism, or you're just voodoo, body blue, let's just look at the receipts, okay? And no, I'm not wrong. So don't get mad at me, get mad at the facts, and then do something about it if it really bothers you. With that being said, I will say my only there's two great disappointments in the film, and the first is that I do think that we needed just one good Black woman in there, just one good Black woman, even if it meant taking the place of Rod, which I like this character, very comedic, body blue, but I feel like a Black woman, I already explained that, I feel like she could have did that well as well, or just like at least had that one homegirl that, really cared about him and whatnot, but at the same time, like, and even though she rolled with Rod to save him or whatever, she still let it be known, like, this is what we be telling y'all about these bitches, we watch people let it know the hurt and betrayal she felt, or got to relish in a little bit of the fact that she wasn't wrong or whatever. Something like that wouldn't have taken away from the film, and it definitely had the potential to add to it, especially, you know, with me as a viewer and like-minded people as a viewer. And but the greatest disappointment was all is that he did not have it in him to kill that white bitch who had been fucking with his heart and his mind and his life the whole time. And not just his, but so many black men before him. And not just black men. We see a picture of her snuggled up with the black woman too. Now, let me I gotta get into that real quick. I did not want this review to be this long, but there's so much to talk about, guys. Yes, it is full of spoilers. I still say go see the movie, or definitely, you know, watch this afterwards if you're, you know, if you're interested to see how other people feel about it from an original perspective. The fact that when I saw that picture of her and that sister, okay, as many of you guys may or may not know, I dropped out of college in May. There is a strong I'm sorry, y'all. There's a strong community that of that at the university I went to. I think they're a strong community, considering location and the makeup of the school and whatnot. Now, in BSU meetings, these guys, you know, would send representatives to our meetings, and sometimes they'd speak and they'd always, you know, promote their stuff, but they pretend to, you know, to be allies and things of that nature. I go into the African American Student Center and I see a lot of, you know, lesbian, bisexual, you know, all those different kinds of identities. But I normally see the women in the African American Student Center. These women that are, you know, lesbian or bisexual or, you know, studs or wutu batu. I normally see them in there. I don't normally see. And there are also majority of them that are in there. Now, we do have some lesbian or bisexual African women who go to the African American Student Center, but they're, when we see them, it's just like, it looks like a bunch of black people are chilling, you know. But the largest population of non-traditional sex and gender roles and identities in the AA Center are normally non-African, whether it be white or Asiatic. They're normally the ones in there. And also, if you look at the feminist movement, the women's movement and whatnot, a lot of black women were being, you know, recruited by non-African women who would go and, you know, want to replace the idea of an African man in relationships and all that other kind of stuff, you know. We see a lot of white feminists with black women, white feminist women with black women. I mean, even Angela Davis, who I'm still questionable about her racial identity, but the point is, you know, she ended up with the white women. You know, we see this stuff all the time, you know, progressive, liberal, you know, non-traditional white women loving black women and enticing black women and trying to pull them over and whatnot. So I think it was very important, and to show that black women are not exempt from white women either. We don't just got to worry about them snatching our men. We got to worry about them snatching us. They've been plotting against us too. Now, the style of the picture and whatnot kind of hinted towards there being a romantic relationship between her and that black girl, especially since amongst all those pictures, they were all romantic relationships with her and black people. However, she could have been a black friend, a black best friend or something like that, just going, you know, away too. And it also shows, you know, the dangers of, you know, getting too close and allowing ourselves to be get ensnared by European women. I think when we really sit down and look at the reality of the roles that white women have had to play, white women specifically, we know we've been no white men were fucked up, but on how deep and how treacherous it goes with white women, this stuff is pretty crazy. I think all around, if I had to rate this film, I give it about an 8.5 out of 10, and that's only because of the two things: he couldn't kill her, and, you know, just a little tweaking on Rod's character. Even if we kept him a black man, you know, some of his comedic stuff was like kind of ill-timed or forced, or like too comedic for the situation. Although with the energy and the intensity in the theaters, though, I get why they went for it a couple times. And then also, if we could just have that that one sister in there, that one sister, we got two sisters in there, you know, both necessary, both relatable, both have some truth to it, both vital to the plot. And if those two were taken out of the movie, I feel like the movie was missing something still. But if we could just throw one more sister in there to like really like show the reflect the reality, because it is a reality as well that sisters has been on this black struggle. Sisters have been writing for niggas, even when they ain't writing for themselves or they ain't writing for us. Okay, so I think that was a very realistic representation that was missing from it. But overall, 8.5 out of 10. I think you should go see it. I normally say let's not go see mainstream shit. I don't want to give these Jews and these crackers any more money than we got to, or whatever. I mean, also, if you could watch it on bootleg, watch it on bootleg, you know. But I definitely think, if you must indulge in the Matrix for a second, that this is one of those movies that you'd be alright diving into. Yes, I have completely spoiled mostly everything, so now you gotta watch it just to see the fact that there's truth in all of my points. Or if you've already seen it and you're watching this, hopefully I've brought some insight to things you may not have noticed before. But as usual, y'all, Black love, pride, and power. Also, this video is launching on day 4 of my 5-day countdown to launch day for my alkaline vegan restaurant. That's your favorite Auntie Jai's, coming to you live in South Central LA at Leimert Park this Sunday. It's going down. Vegan never tasted so good, y'all. So with that being said, I love y'all and peace.